Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, we are talking about the great earnings for AMC, the future value of AMC, the expected move for AMC, and many more in this video. First, we're taking a look at this. AMC 91 million. So going in before this weekend, we already saw how well AMC was doing. Now we knew that this was because the release of new films, and what we are seeing is how Toy Story 5 is of course crushing the box office. Friday opening, domestic 71 million. The weekend projection is 160 to 170 million. Now, this is on pace for the biggest opening weekend of 2026 and possibly the best opening in the whole Toy Story franchise. So where did we end off? Well, we're looking at how it's at 200 million opening day already. On yesterday, IMAX AMC, Toy Story 9.5 out of 10, definitely lots of jokes for all generations. So I want to talk about how important this is. Firstly, is the fact that we are looking at how even movies that are being released now that are part of the franchise, what people think is going to go into decline, is actually doing the very opposite, and it's actually bringing in more numbers than what we could expect. And this is one after another. We've already seen how so many movies this year so far has already done exceptionally well. We're not only looking at franchise movies like Toy Story that are doing well, but we're also seeing how newly released movies that are not based on anything but pre kind of context are also doing well, like what we talked about with Backroom. And so this is how we understand that the box office isn't just reliant on one singular individual movies, but rather every single movie has the potential to bring insane numbers. And what we have to do right now is not worry about the box office anymore. It's not worried about the movies, because we have seen how movies are being released. They're being released very constantly. They're doing very well on numbers. The box office numbers are going up. We already know those things. Those are constant facts. The things that we need to be looking now and focus on is how does AMC not get even more attendance towards their theaters. We already have the biggest market share within the industry, but of course it will do us a lot better if we were able to get even more market share, because that means more revenue, that means more profit. And of course, when AMC improves on efficiency even more, we are able to get even more revenue based on the same amount of attendance. So that's what we have to pay attention to. And if you want a visual kind of image of what's going on, this is Robin Hood being released, and you can see how the lobby is filled up. Now, bear in mind, this is just one of the many AMCs that are out there. And again, if you are going to watch a movie over the weekend, or if you have seen a movie, feel free to obviously tell everyone about it. Make sure you let people know how great the movies are. And of course, if you're watching and you have a child or you have a younger sibling who is wanting to go watch it, make sure you guys go watch it, because this is, what I've heard so far, it has been a great film. And of course, we want to watch it at the cinema that we support, and because of the fact they are offering premium experiences. And you can see what's great about this is a movie like Toy Story 5 doing so amazing in theaters is the fact that it's geared towards kids, and kids as much as adults who accompany them. Love watching a movie with a drink, popcorn, and candy. The concessions revenue is going to come in so hot it will need to simmer on the stove next to the crow AA is about to serve up during earnings. So this is extremely important, and it's why we've said about how AMC is trying to get more market share and why we're not worried about the box office anymore, because AMC are doing things like selling concessions like we talked about with the food and beverages, and they have been extremely efficient about it. You have seen how AMC has posted record attendance. You're seeing how AMC is posting record EBITDA. You're seeing how AMC is posting the record kind of food and beverages sales as well. All of these things are all related to one another, because it just talks about what AMC is trying to optimize, what they're trying to implement in their theaters. And that's extremely important for us, because it shows where AMC is going to get a large amount of money, where AMC is going to show the biggest growth in earnings. And with this right now, with movies like Toy Story 5, that's not only going to have an incentive for kids to go, but of course the adults who bring them as well, who are going to buy concessions. This is what we talked about with how important it is for AMC to capture even more audiences. Because if we were to see kids who says, I want to go to AMC to watch it, then you can see how big of an effect that has. But also for the adults who want to go watch movies themselves or bring their kids or whatever, they will also want to go and bring them to a good movie theater. And so if AMC is doing the right thing, making the right investment, doing the right build, and is having the incentive for people to go watch at AMC, you can understand how we're going to see even more record attendance being broken. And so it's why we've said that that is the main thing that we want to focus on right now. And not to say that they're not doing well, because so far AMC has done exceptionally well, but it's saying how that should be our big focus right now. Another thing to talk about is the AI sector. Now, let's talk about this because cinema is the only big sector right now that hasn't been affected positively by AI. AI is going to send AMC to Mars. Cost of movie making will go down. More movies will be made for the big screen. Now, I definitely think that this is a big factor, not just because of this, but what we have to understand is, of course, how AI is able to be used. Now, there has already been talks in the past before with how they were going to use AI to translate movies into the languages shown at the Pacific country. So if it's an American movie, it's in English, but it's showing in Spain or countries that speak Spanish, it will then, of course, be translated to Spanish, vice versa for potential other languages as well. And this is what we've said is going to be something that will bring even more audience, that is going to bring even more attention, because there are great movies that are out there which are spoken in English, and for some people they may not want to watch it because they don't understand, or they don't want to watch subtitles. And so if it translates to their own language, then it's going to be more welcoming, it's going to attract more people. And also there are great films out there that are not in English, and it doesn't get the popularity it does because of the fact it's not in English. And so if that is able to get translated to English, then you can see how that's also going to open up a whole new brand kind of gate of audiences. And this is what we said with how AI is yet to have a big effect. We've already seen how all of these companies who have implemented AI have now been traded on forward earnings, and they're trading 10x to what they should be. So when we do see that AI effect on AMC as well, remember, this is just one of the many things that it can do. These are going to bring massive value towards AMC, and it's kind of what we're also expecting because of what it can do. And when you see how well AMC is already doing right now, remember, we've survived COVID, empty release schedules, the strikes, and now with the box office that is recovering, for the Q2, we're looking at likely net positive. Q3 should be positive. Now, I don't want to yet make a prediction and just tell you guys it is going to be, this amount, it is going to be that. But what we've said already is that Q2 is going to give us a very, very good sign. Q1 has already shown us what AMC was doing, how AMC is trying to capitalize on this. But remember, the box office has only gotten bigger since Q1. And what Q2 will ultimately show is just how well AMC has fared so far in 2026. And this is very important because the majority of the annual box office actually comes in Q3 and Q4. So if we are seeing how well Q2 already is, what AMC is doing to make the money, to make the revenue, etc., then Q3 and Q4 will give us a very major understanding of just truly how well AMC is going to do this year. And all of that can be decided by how well AMC does in Q2. And so that's the main thing that I will be focusing at during the earnings of Q2. Now, some other thing is that right now the projected value for AMC, the expected move, is of course going up. Now, it's no surprise that we are seeing bullishness for AMC. Still, in my opinion, I think what we're looking at here is very low. Now, it's shown that the expected move is up to 393. Now, we have to understand this from different perspectives. Firstly, I think it's a positive thing that more and more institutions, more and more of these analyst targets are acknowledging where AMC is going and where they should be going and the future value. What I think they're yet and are potentially too scared to maybe put a target on is kind of just how high AMC can go. You can see they're expecting kind of a 38.75% move on AMC, but when we talk about everything that has already happened, and we're not even mentioning squeeze, we're mentioning the fundamental value, you can already expect how AMC is going to go higher than that. And I do think that these institutions isn't putting these targets because they think AMC can't do it, but rather they are worried about the narrative. They're worried about other institutions going bankrupt because of AMC going up. And that's why they're trying to slow down with the price predictions. But nevertheless, I think it's still a good thing that they understand where the future projections. And you can see that this obviously had a very positive effect as we're seeing AMC Entertainment roars back as traders pile in. We've already seen the volume. We talked about the shares being bought. We talked about the options being bought. And this is why we've said that people are realizing where AMC is going to go. What I think is also very important was that on the Friday, so whilst the US stock market was closed, AMC stock in Germany actually closed at 254 euros, which converts to $291. And I think that this is a very positive thing because this actually shows us multiple things. Now, whilst these institutions obviously hides their shares offshore, what we have realized is that in pretty much all markets outside the US, there is less manipulation, and it shows more of a case of what people actually believe in. And so in this case, the fact that we're seeing AMC being bought up in the German exchange and it went up to 254, or in the US dollar sake of 291, it shows that actually the real sentiment is bullish. The real sentiment is buying into AMC. And that really gives us a lot of understanding of where people believe AMC should go. Now, of course, when it carries over back to the US, where there's more volume, but of course more manipulation and suppression, it is going to be a different story. It is going to be a different chart, but it doesn't hide away the fact that people are wanting to buy AMC. And that's the most important takeaway point that I think we need to talk about. And what's also seen here is this: the AMC turnaround story is maybe not as crazy as many think. Better attendance numbers, improving fundamentals, and a strong upcoming movie slate could surprise a lot of investors. And this is what I said with how people are finally acknowledging AMC. For the apes, we've already known this, we've seen this, we knew this was going to happen, right? None of what's happening to AMC right now, whether it's the movement of the price, whether it's how well the box office is doing, whether it's how well AMC is doing, none of these are surprising to us, because we already knew that this was going to happen. We've seen this firsthand. We expected this firsthand. But for a lot of investors who, whether it's potential retail investors who gets their views from kind of these mainstream media, mainstream articles, whether it's institutions who have just continuously talked bad about AMC, it has come to the point where they've all realized just how well AMC is. And that's why we're seeing a lot of them trying to buy in right now and trying to accumulate as many shares as possible. And one of the things for AMC right now is that $60 is not too much to ask for. It is possible. And you can see the example of when AMC smashes $60, a 17,000 shares of AMC can fetch $1 million plus. And this is just exactly why we've seen the apes, the investors, everyone who are trying to buy in, because they've realized how much of an ROI this could yield. They realize how much of a potential this is. And it's what everyone, not just the apes, but everyone is seeing this right now. It's what we talked about of how people are willing to buy. But of course, again, with everything said, there is going to be the constant manipulation. There is going to be the constant off exchange. What you're seeing here is, of course, the off exchange value for AMC, how many shares are being hidden in the dark pool. But again, what is being broken is the fact that apes have constantly been willing to buy. You can see this from simulation. This is just one of the many apes we have featured on this channel, but it's just an example of how people are willing to buy AMC constantly. Now, the range is obviously different. We have seen people buy 1 share of AMC to seeing people buy 10,000 shares of AMC in one day. Now, it doesn't matter how many shares are being bought. What matters is the fact that apes are willing to buy AMC despite everything that we have gone through, despite all this suppression and manipulation, and more importantly, forcing the short sellers to create even more synthetics. And that's how we know that AMC is going to win. That's how we know that they are going to pay. And so in 2021, the float size of AMC was 95 million, and in 2022, 105 million. The self-reported short interest today is 60 million shares. Let that sink in without considering today's float size. Shorts never close. And this kind of goes on to what we said with earlier with how apes are constantly willing to buy. Remember, shorts have never covered. What we have been doing is forcing them to create synthetics, to rehypothecate shares of AMC, because that creates an illiquidity, that creates margin calls on their side, and eventually they will have to pay for the squeeze of AMC. And so when some think that AMC flies to 70 plus, that will be the squeeze. But no, that will only represent a new base price being set. We have our expectations for AMC to obviously be a lot higher. Now, as always, I said that everyone has a different floor price, but what we have realized is that because we have forced him to create so much synthetics, is that the price will be extremely high. And for the shorts who are trying to short AMC because they think it's going to go bankrupt, you have to pay a fee, keep shorting. You have to have hundreds of thousands of FTDs. You have to rehypothecate shares every day. We know that the shorts are going to have to lose. And again, AMC is not going to bankrupt either. So I really don't see a world with how we don't win. Now, something I find interesting is this particular chart again. What I find interesting is where AMC is comparison to the past. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is a chart of AMC's price movement after Adam Aaron tweets to the moon. Now, he's tweeted this twice in the past, one in 2021, one in 2026. Purple line is the price after he tweeted. The blue line is the current price of AMC. And what you'll see is that we did, of course, stray off the chart. We didn't follow the movement. But now what we're looking at is actually an inverse relation. And I do think that this is a very, very positive sign to what's to happen with the exponential move there is for AMC, and ultimately with Adam Aaron's hint of $75 for AMC. Also, what we've been seeing is not only is AMC getting the recognition they should have, GME is also doing the same. And I think that this is a very good sign because it means that we're going to apply even more pressure towards the short sellers. And then finally, one of the macro things to look at is how these firms who were making money in the past before are now all seeing money's being lost, are seeing people trying to pull out. And I think this really shows a big thing of what's going on within the market and how they're going to fail. As always, this is financial advice, and I'll catch you guys next time.